You'll practice listening comprehension today and learn some new vocabulary with José's possibly true story. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to all of you if you're a new listener or a returning podcast fan. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
With over 45 years of teaching English between us, Reza and I are going to help you improve your grammar, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, and take everything to the next level. How are you, mates?
I'm doing very well, Craig. Can't complain. What about you?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm feeling good. What do we have this week?
Well, let's start off with a nice voice message from Gabby. Some of you may remember Gabby. She's given us a bit of feedback before, and she's passed the CAE exam.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations, Gabby.
Well done, Gabby.
I know this happened a while ago because, as you know, we play the feedback sometimes 2, 3, or even 4 weeks after we receive it, but we do always promise to play it. So I'm sorry, Gabby, that these congratulations are coming a little bit late. Let's hear Gabby.
Hi, Reza and Craig. How are you, my friends? Well, it's been a while since the last time I sent you a voice message, eh? Well, I've got some news. The first is that I got my CAE. I am a C1 English teacher now. Way to go. And I also slipped down from the stairs and my whole body is aching. Actually, I hurt my tailbone and that's why I'm resting. And it's been a week already, so I'm kind of bored. But I'm listening to you guys, which is good, and you always cheer me up. I've got a question. Can you explain in what ways can we use whatsoever? Thank you a bunch. I'll be around more often. Hacks.
Hi, Gabby. I'm sorry to hear you had the accident falling down the stairs, but you probably feel much better now because you sent us that message a while ago. So I hope you're feeling much, much better.
Yes, sorry it's taken us a while to get back to you, but, we have to get through all the feedback slowly as best we can, bit by bit.
I can actually remember your message, Gabby, when you said you were deciding whether or not to try for the CAE exam. So we're really, really pleased that you did decide to try, that you've passed the exam and you're now a CAE girl. Congratulations.
Well, sorry to hear you've hurt yourself. You say you hurt your tailbone. I wasn't quite sure if that was the right way to say it or not, so I had to look it up on internet. And yeah, you're quite right. But in British English, we tend to say coccyx, which is the medical term. But perhaps in American English, I don't know, perhaps they tend to say tailbone because it is kind of like where your tail would be if you had a tail, right at the bottom of your spine, just above your bottom, and you've damaged that. A common injury when you slip downstairs. By the way, you said slip down from the stairs. No from, just I slipped down the stairs. So you've hurt your coccyx. While I was checking the word tailbone to see if it was really the same as coccyx, I discovered that the word coccyx apparently, according to internet, means cuckoo. You know those birds that go cuckoo, cuckoo? Because it looks like the beak, el pico, of a cuckoo. So the Greeks called it the cuckoo, the coccyx. Weird, eh?
Yeah. So thank you, Gabby. We've learned something today. I like the way you use the expression cheer me up, and I'm really pleased that we, in some way, managed to cheer you up. To cheer someone up is animar, and Gabby said that she listens to our podcasts and we cheer her up. That's a phrasal verb that you can separate and put the object in the middle, to cheer someone up. Whatsoever was your question, Gabby. So whatsoever, what is it and when do we use it? Well, it's an adverb and we often use it for emphasis, to emphasize something. So I could say, I have no doubt whatsoever that Gabby will be up and about very soon. No doubt whatsoever. Ninguna duda whatsoever.
You also have the word, but it's not very common, whosoever. But it's very formal. For example, you might see in some ancient tomb, a burial site. Whosoever enters this tomb will be cursed by the ghost of blah, blah, blah. You know, can you imagine a horror film? Whosoever. That means it doesn't matter who, without any exception. Whosoever. But it's not such a common word these days, is it?
No, but you might see it in legal English in a contract, for example. Whosoever should break this regulation, or whosoever should dare to. So yeah, very formal, perhaps legal English that's not very common. But whatsoever is more common. Reza, did you have any idea that Gabby passed her CAE exam?
None whatsoever until now. So I'm really pleased, Gabby.
So it's just like saying none at all. Okay, let's move on to listen to Jose's true story. Well, maybe it's a true story. Maybe this story is not true. You decide. Now, we have heard from Jose before. Back in episode 171, Jose did tell us a true story. So go to inglespodcast.com/171 to listen to that. And these true stories, or this idea of you telling us stories, go back to episode 137, in which Reza and I spoke about how to tell a story in English. So English that you can use and ways of telling stories with past tenses, sequencing words. If you want to go back and listen to that, it's inglespodcast.com/137, and then maybe you could record your story, practice your English, send it to us, and we will include it in a future episode. So Reza, with Jose's true story this week, are there any words, is there any vocabulary that would help the listener understand it better?
Yes, there are a few words which you might not know before we listen. Let's start with the word lick. That's L-I-C-K. Not like, but lick. Craig likes chocolate. Well, he probably licks chocolate as well. But that's
every opportunity I get.
Lick is lamer, so he likes chocolate so much that he licks it, perhaps. So lick, L-I-C-K, is lamer.
I'd probably lick a chocolate ice cream, because you lick ice cream, don't you, with your tongue. So to lick. Next one is rope. It's a noun. Cuerda is rope. So a long piece of rope, for example.
To wag, W-A-G, to wag its tail. A dog wags, menear, it moves its tail, wag.
A dog wags its tail. And another word, to hide. Another word is to hide. Esconder. It's irregular. The past of hide is hid. So I hid the money. Where did you hide it? Where did Craig hide his chocolate? To hide, esconder.
Another verb you'll need to know is to tie or to tie up. It can be a phrasal verb. To tie up, which is regular. So the past is ed, tied. And the opposite of tie is to untie. U-N-T-I-E. So tie, atar, untie, desatar.
And finally, to ring the bell. Ring the bell. Tocar el timbre. So bell is timbre. To ring, tocar. So to ring the bell is another expression that Jose uses. Before we listen to Jose's true story, we have 6 questions for you. Now, you may be in the gym working out, you may be walking your dog or driving, so you might not remember these questions. To practice your listening comprehension, we suggest you go to the website, inglespodcast.com/214, read these questions, and then listen for the answers.
But just before we read the questions, now's the time when I promised that I would let my friend know. We have a special guest actually here today, and I promised I'd let him know when we got to the story. Coco, it's time for the story. Coco, can you hear me? I said I would let him know when the story was about to commence, because I told him about this story, and he said he was really looking forward to it. So, Coco, now, are you ready? Yes, he says. He says we can start the story now. Thank you, Coco.
Okay, Coco, let's go. Jose's true story. Oh, we haven't mentioned the questions. Number 1, what was Jose going to buy when he found the dog? Again, number 1, what was José going to buy when he found the dog?
2. Was Captain a purebred? I repeat that. Was Captain a purebred?
Number 3, what did the dog do when José untied him? What did the dog do when José untied him?
4. What did José find in the cap? I repeat. What did José find in the cap?
Number 5. How long did the dog live with José and his family? Again, number 5. How long did the dog live with José and his family?
And the last question, number 6. Why do you think José's parents let Captain stay with them? I repeat it. Why do you think José's parents let Captain stay with them?
So listen to José's true story and decide if it's true or not and answer the questions. Remember, the questions are also on our website at inglespodcast.com/214.
Hello, Craig and Reza. I'm going to read you a story that happened to me in 1965 when I was 12 years old. I'm not going to tell you if this story is true or not. You will judge at the end. Please forgive my mistakes. I'm still learning English. This story is about my dog. His name was Captain. I'm going to use the pronoun he instead of it for referring to Captain. He wasn't a purebred dog, but he was the most lovely dog in the world. I found Captain when I was 12. I was living in the apartment at the beach called El Saler in Valencia in summertime with my parents and brothers. One day I was walking from the apartment to the only grocery store nearby to buy a loaf of bread when I saw him. The dog was tied a tree with a rope around his neck, laid down on the floor, sad and bored, almost slept. There also was a blue cap, like sailors usually wear, hanged on the log of the tree where the dog was tied. I stopped for a while looking for him, and suddenly the dog stood up and started wagging his tail, raised its ear, and stuck its tongue out. It seemed that he liked me. I would have liked to take the dog as a pet, but I knew that my parents didn't like pets in the apartment nor home, so I continued my way, turning around my head continuously for looking at the dog while I was getting away. The dog was also looking at me until I disappeared behind a curve of the path. When I was coming back to the apartment, I hid behind the trees to observe the dog. He was as before, tied, lie down, sad and bored. However, the dog didn't stand up nor showed any joy with anybody who passed or stopped for looking at him as he did with me before. Then I decided to leave my hiding place and keep walking the path to the apartment. When I was passing at the dog's side, he stood up quickly and started to wag his tail again, showing me even more joy than before. It seemed that the dog loved me in a special way. I couldn't help to approach him, and I touched his head. The dog licked my bare legs with its tongue continuously. I decided to untie him just to release him. When the dog felt free, he started to run around me, jumping happily. I felt happier and happier. Then I took the blue cap and tried to put it on his head just for playing with him. Then I realized that inside of the cap there was a small piece of paper handwritten that said something like this: "If you have decided to release the dog, it's because you like him. Please take care of him. His name is Captain and he is 4 months old. You won't regret." Then I decided to take the dog and ask permission to my parents once more for having a dog as a pet. We both arrived to the apartment. I was ready to take no for an answer. Captain and I were stood in front of the door. At the end, I encouraged myself and rang the bell. 5 seconds later, my father opened the door and saw me with a dog. He was in silence. I was quiet and scared. I had my eyes completely open and my mouth was closed strongly. My father was angrier and angrier. I could see his face. He was looking at me without saying a word. Then my mom appeared and saw the complete picture and could imagine quickly what was happening there. We 4 were looking at each other in silence. The dog started to lick my feet. My parents observed the dog surprisingly. Then I said to them, "His name is Captain and he is 4 months old." My father asked, "And?" I said, "We would like to be together." And I added, "If you agree, of course." My parents looked at each other again and then both looked at the dog, who was likewise looking at them as if he was understanding every word that we were saying. Captain was so lovely that my parents couldn't say no. Thus, the dog lived with my family for 15 years until he died.
Thank you very much, Jose. What do you think, Reza? True or not?
I think it's true. I know when I first read the story, I read it before we came to podcast today. I read it with Coco, and we so wanted it to be true. Coco, my 4-legged friend, doggy. Hello. Oh, he's looking at me now. Yes, Coco. Coco says he's convinced it's true, and he wants it to be true because, you know, dogs have such a hard life. It's nice.
Coco's quite sentimental as well. So
he's very sentimental, you know. Yeah. And Coco himself was abandoned as a little puppy, and his mummy came and rescued him. But his real mummy, I'm afraid, died. So we want it to be true. What about you?
Yeah, I think so. I'm guessing that it's true. I'm waiting to hear confirmation from Jose. But what do you think? Do you think Jose's story is true or not? Let's give the answers to the questions. The first one was, what was Jose going to buy when he found the dog? What's the answer?
A loaf of bread.
That's right.
A loaf is una barra. L-O-A-F. A loaf of bread.
Was Captain a purebred?
No. He was, like myself, a mongrel.
A mixture.
Yeah. And like Coco, by the way. Coco, me, all the best people are mongrels.
That's right.
So a mongrel is not a purebred. You're more than one breed or more than one nationality.
Number 3, what did the dog do when Jose untied him? What did the dog do when Jose untied him?
He ran around him jumping happily. So jumping is saltando.
Number 4, what did Jose find in the cap?
Well, a cap is una gorra, just in case you don't know. He found a handwritten note.
A note that was written by hand. Number 5, how long did the dog live with Jose and his family?
For 15 years, which is a long time for a dog.
It is.
Because the general rule is 1 human year equals 7 dog years. So multiply 15 by 7. That's how long in human years Captain lived.
So we can say that he lived to a ripe old age, R-I-P-E, a ripe old age. We speak about fruit being ripe, maduro, but if you live to a ripe old age, it's a good age. You live a long time. The final question, number 6, why do you think Jose's parents let Captain stay with them? Why do you think his parents let Captain stay with them?
Well, we can't say for sure unless we ask them, but I presume it's because he was irresistibly sweet and they felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Me too. I think that's the answer. So we hope you got the answers to the questions correct. Thank you very much, Jose, for sending us that story. One or two things we'd like to highlight or focus on from your story to help you perhaps improve a little for next time. One thing that I noticed, and Reza too, was the infinitive of purpose. We use the infinitive sometimes to say why we do things. For example, why did I take a chair? I took a chair to sit down. So that infinitive to sit down is the infinitive of purpose. It's the reason I took the chair. Why did I pick up a pen? To write something. Why did I get into my car? To drive to work. So this idea that you do something for a reason, where in Spanish you'd say para hacer algo. You don't say for to in English. You just use the infinitive. Reza, can you think of any examples that Jose used in his story that we could improve that connect to the infinitive of purpose?
Yes, if you remember, he said, however, the dog didn't stand up nor showed any joy with anybody who passed or stopped. And he wrote, for looking, but it should be stopped to look at him as he did with me before. So that needs to be infinitive.
Another example, I continued my way, turning around my head continuously for looking at the dog. Well, the reason he turned his head was to look at the dog. So there again, you need the infinitive of purpose. The reason he turned his head was to look at the dog. So the correct sentence would be, I continued turning around my head continuously to look at the dog.
We'll give you one more example. Then I took the blue cap and tried to put it on his head, just for playing with him. Well, it should be just to play with him. That's the reason why Jose put the cap on Captain's head. Why? To play with him.
Another improvement, Jose, was with your expression, my mouth was closed strongly. A stronger collocation, a stronger expression would be my mouth was tightly closed. So not strongly, but tightly, T-I-G-H-T-L-Y. My mouth was tightly closed.
And you said, Jose, you won't regret. Well, we can't do that because regret is a verb which must have an object. So you won't regret it. And we'll make it our object, complemento, object.
So we hope that's helped. Thanks again, Jose, for sending us your story. And now it's your turn to practice your English. That's you. Yes, you, the listener. Do you have a true story to tell us, similar to Jose's? And do you think Jose's story was true? Please let us know. We love listening to your voices and getting your feedback about the podcast. You can send us a voice message or an MP3 file by email, or go to speakpipe.com/inglespodcast. Your sound files should go to me, Craig, at inglespodcast.com.
Or you could send me an email at belfastreza@gmail.com.
Before we go, we'd like to say thank you to our wonderful patrons on Patreon, starting with our gold sponsor, Mr. Bruno, who does walking tours of 2 cities, Copenhagen, with his company CopenhagenWalkingTour.com. And also, if you're going to Rio de Janeiro, don't forget to get in touch with Bruno and try his walking tours of the favelas in Rio de Janeiro. And you can find information for that at favelawalkingtour.com.br. All of the information and links are on his website. And to go there, go to inglespodcast.com/212, where you can find links to his website. Also, thank you to our other wonderful patrons of the show who are supporting us. They are Ana Giovanna, Dana Constantin, Pachi Ibañez, Manuel Tarazona, Juan Carlos Dorado, Maite Palacín Pérez, Lara Allem, Néstor from Luces Extrañas, Maria Gervati, Lorena Sarajarabo, Carlos Garrido, Mamin, Juan Leiva Garrera, Corey Finneran from the baseball podcast ivyenvy.com, Miren Full, José Luis Araguay, Agus Paulucci, Maria Raidamen, Manuel García Betagón, Raúl López, Rafael, José Manuel Fernández Picazo, Pilar Martínez, Gambate Blog, Igor Garmendia, Ignacio Espona, Kieran, Ana Hervara, Marina Ortez Pena, Juan Carlos Pantín Fernández, Alejandro Pluma, Alex Cuadra, José Emilio Villena, Esperanza Colmenero, Emilio Manuel Martínez Rivas, Chema Santa Cruz, Ana Fernández Monterrubio, Carlos Caño Domingo, Gustavo, Antonio Díaz, José Antonio Muñoz, Eva María Elzalde Martínez, Arminda Fafo, Carlos Sánchez, Elvira Cortés, Francisco Javier Alejandre Sebastian, and Reza, who are our latest patrons who are supporting the show.
Our most recent patrons are Andrea Mio, Rogelio Menéndez, Antonio Lafuente, Eloy, Pablo Martínez, Miguel, and Javier Correa Sambade.
Thank you to all of you, and I'm very happy and very proud to say that we are very, very close now to our goal of $100 per month, which are providing the transcriptions every week for you to read as you're listening if you need that extra support and reference. So if you would like to join that lovely long list of patrons of the show, go to patreon.com/English Podcast, where for only $1 minimum per month, you can get instant access to recent transcriptions of the podcast, lovingly transcribed by Angelica Bello from Madrid.
And not only that, as an added extra, you'll get to hear your name read out at the end of every podcast by Craig or me in a Geary accent, which is kind of fun.
And thank you also to Patricia Alonso, who continues working to transcribe episodes for you. We now have available episodes 1 to 20, 131 to 142. They are free on the website at inglespodcast.com. So thank you very much for listening this week. Reza, what are we going to speak about on next week's podcast?
On next week's episode, we've got 10 phrasal verbs you can separate.
Okay. If you want to brush up on your phrasal verbs, did you see what I did there? To brush up is a phrasal
verb. Yeah.
To brush up means to improve or revise your phrasal verbs. Listen to us next week, and we hope to see you then. For now, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later. How are you doing this week, Reza?
Not bad, Craig. Can't complain. Things are doing... Why did I say that? Ask me again. I don't know why. Just my mouth froze.